オルテか、お前に慈悲は与えない。
What is going on, guys? It is your boy Grave coming back at you with another Revice episode review. Now, sorry for last week, there was no episode review. Stuff happened and it prevented me from actually recording. But I'll give you the Cliff Notes version of what happened in episode 25. So, the demon in the Demon's Driver turned out to be called Vale. And he leaves the driver when Oteka was questioning him why he wasn't powerful yet. George then asks Siki about his past, and as they were going to talk, he gets ambushed by Oteka and Aguilera, and a new rider, Kamen Rider Revice, shows up to help them, and it turns out to be Genta. Now, after Genta defeats the Gitarians, he basically forces Iki to remember his past about the fire of the Igarashi bathhouse, and that actually was the event that caused Vice to be born. And at the end of that episode, George revealed that the three siblings are descendants of Gifu because Genta was implanted with Gifu cells, and that's why he has no heart. But anyway, that's what happens in episode 25. Let's get on to episode 26. Now, the episode starts with Oteka welcoming back Vale into the Demon's Driver, with Vale telling Oteka that it could be fun to help you out for a while. Back in Phoenix, Georgia attempts to shoot down the Gifu coffin, but nothing happens. It just stays still. Like, you see a whole bunch of machine guns just trying to mow down the coffin, but nothing really happens. George is clearly frustrated, but the director, I'm just gonna call him director from now on, I can't really pronounce his name right. He says that this must be what it's like to when David faced Goliath. In the bathhouse, Daiji remembers what George said about them being descendants of Gifu, with Kagero taunting him. Like, who knew we would be related to the final boss? And it continues to tell him that he can take control whenever he wants, and he challenges Daiji. The three siblings talk about them being related to Gifu, and that seems to be why Vice, Kagero, and Love Cup seem to act up when it pulsates, because they have a close relation to Gifu. Sakura walks off, and when asked where you're going, she says she's going out for a talk, but let's be honest, she's gonna go see Weekend. And after that, Daiji explains to Iki that Kagero is acting up, and when Iki says they'll figure something out, Daiji snaps back, saying Kagero is his demon, he'll figure it out himself. And Daiji leaves. And when Iki is slumping in depression, not depression, just looking like he's a little defeated, Boo comes in and he finally tells Iki who he really is. In George's lab, George explains to Akemi that the siblings have beaten numerous demons, but it only turned out to strengthen Gifu, and that's what's causing their demons, Vice, Kagero, and Love Cub, to basically go out of control. You see, George is developing two stamps, one for Iki, one for Daiji, to help them out. But they were interrupted by Kagero, demanding to take the two-side driver, and now seeing the new stamp, he demands the stamp. And when George refuses, Kagero takes Akemi as his hostage. George says that the crow stamp isn't finished, and for it to work, either live or evil needs to be eliminated. Kagero doesn't mind, but George refuses, saying, I won't give it to you unless Daiji approves. But the director comes in and tells him, give it to Kagero. If Daiji dies, we can just replace him with Kagero. Like, George, how can you not see this man's the villain at this point? Although, granted to George, he was actually defending Daiji, like, what if he dies? But in the end, George is forced to give the stamp to Kagero, and Kagero leaves. In the bathhouse, Boo explains that how he knew Genta, and revealed that Genta's original name was Shiranami Junpei. And as Boo is telling him this, Sakura confronts Karazaki about making Genta a writer. It turns out Genta and Boo knew each other. They met each other at a military branch called Noah, who wanted to use demons in the military. And Genta, as Kamen Rider Veil, was tasked of taking out the demons that were deemed failures. Now, after a while, this kind of broke Genta, and he was in this dark hole in his life until he met Yukimi. And when he tried to escape, he fought to escape, to be with her, to start a family, his memories disappeared, and he took on the name Genta Igarashi. Turning back to Karazaki and Weekend, he says that he was ashamed for what he did to Genta, turning him into Veil, so he helped him escape. But as he escaped, there was an explosion and it hit him. I'm guessing that's why he wears the mask. He must have a two-face kind of thing going on. It turns out he made the Libera driver, Sakura's driver, and the rolling vice stamp to basically repent for what he did. But Sakura won't really listen. Like, you expect me to thank you, to forgive you? Back at Boo, he says that after Genta left, Noah disbanded, and a fraction of them splintered off, taking the Gifu coffin and worshipping it. And they came to be known as the Deadmans. George calls Iki and Sakura and tells them about Daiji. In an abandoned building, Kagero stamps himself, releasing Daiji, kind of cloning himself in a way. And they are to fight. Daiji asks if they really have to fight, but Kagero says he just wants to be free. And Daiji saying that he wished he could live together with him, just like Iki and Vice, but Kagero is like not having any of it. And he tosses Daiji a second two-side driver that George made, I'm assuming just for this purpose. And they both transform, Kagero into evil, Daiji into live, and they begin to fight. Sakura rushes over to Daiji, but she's stopped by Aguilera. And Aguilera asks Sakura how she got so strong, and the two of them begin to fight. As Daiji and Kagero fight, Kagero comments to Daiji that he's being a baby, but Daiji pushes him back and they continue to fight as George and Iki show up to watch them. Vice asks if Iki will stop them, but Iki says that they have to sell them on their own. As Sakura and Aguilera fight, Aguilera starts to bleed, and Sakura tells her that Aguilera's what made her strong, with Aguilera replying that Sakura made her weak. Aguilera is clearly confused about what she needs to do and asks Sakura, but Sakura snaps at her, saying that that's for her to figure out, and she leaves her. While Daiji and Kagero fight, Daiji notices that Kagero is oddly getting weaker. George asks if Daiji is able to finish him off because, you know, they're two beings. But Iki reassures him that, yeah, he can. Olteka, being the little jerk he is, shows up with Veil and the Demon's Driver. And Iki tells him that leave them be. They're having their business. It's a port. But Veil in the Demon's Driver says, like, perfect timing. We should show off our new power. And that causes Iki and Olteka to transform and fight each other. But Olteka easily overpowers Iki. Like, as demons, he easily overpowers Jack Revice. Like, wow, you're already nerfing Jack Revice. Daiji hits Kagero, cracking his helmet. Like, oh my god, not gonna lie, the cracked helmet looks pretty cool. I wouldn't mind getting a figure of Evil with that cracked helmet. Kagero weakly walks up to Daiji and softly punches him before falling down, and Daiji catches him. Kagero tells Daiji that he needs to be more ruthless, with Daiji agreeing and letting him go, saying he'll end things properly. Kagero turns around to do one final punch, but Daiji dodges and uppercuts Kagero as Oteka defeats Iki. Kagero untransforms and crawls to Daiji, giving him the now holy wing stamp, and eventually dies. Daiji, kind of in grieving because he lost Kagero, transforms with the holy wing stamp and becomes wholly live. He then dashes to Oteka before he can finish Iki, saying that he'll no longer receive mercy from him. And that's how the episode ends. Like, I'm kind of glad that they gave this focus episode on Daiji, because ever since Hiromi left, I felt like Daiji is becoming more and more of the punching bag of the show. But this episode was really needed for it. I'm starting to feel a little bad for Aguilera, because she's confused on what to do. She was groomed her entire life of the dead man's, but now she's left on her own. She's confused. She's asking what should she do, but she's being told to figure it out for yourself. George surprised me when he showed concern for Daiji. Like, when the director told him, give him the stamp, and if Daiji dies, he dies. George showed actual concern, which I haven't seen that from him at all. Either if he shows concern, it's a joke to him. But this time it actually looked like he was concerned. So I feel like there's going to be some character development for George in particular. The whole revelation with Genta and Boo being part of Noah, that was kind of a shock. Like, they wanted to turn demons into military weapons. It's your classic, let's turn this powerful thing into something for the military, and it goes to shit. But now we have a backstory on how Deadman's was created. We have Vale, we have who Boo is. And speaking of that, we do have a spin-off series for Kamen Rider Revice, Kamen Rider Vale, that should show what happened to Genta as Junpei when he is Vale, so that should be interesting to see. Anyway, that is all the time I have for today. Thank you guys so much for watching. What do you guys think about this episode? Are you gonna miss Kagero? Leave your comments down below. And as always, I will see you all next time for episode 27. Holy crap, we're on 27. As always, guys, likes, comments, shares are always appreciated. And I'll see you guys next time. Peace out.